Hallo, assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Khush Amdeed. Ji ayanu. Goedemorgen.
Ishpata, Pacheragele, Ni Hao, Chunishume, Washmale, Ohio Gonzaimes, Guten Morgen, Ola, Boyor, Privyet, Kaifahal, Haleshuma Chatore, Ahlan Wasalan, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Swabia, Bhalli Kare, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You're watching World this morning. I'm saying the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very humble, the very modest, the one who holds up that emblem of being very characterful as well, ladies and gentlemen. She happens to be Shiza
Wow.
Hashmi, and I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. We hope and pray that everybody out there in 46 different countries, even if it's morning or night, that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
Doing absolutely great. Thank you so much for asking. Once again, thank you so much for the
No
kind
problem,
words.
Jazakallah.
Tell me how you're doing and also how was the weekend? Yes,
Wow.
it's a Monday, while a lot of people, probably I feel like 80% of the people hate this day, but hey, come on, a lot of things are looking brighter for this week. So let's all together share this beautiful spirit of Monday. So, how
Wow.
was the weekend?
Well, my weekend was great, absolutely perfect. I had a blast. I was out with friends as well, and this was after a very long time that I actually kind of took out time because my friends kept on calling. They were like that every time you come to Lahore, there's always a reason behind. So you do not come to see us. You either come for work or either you have
Yeah.
some other commitment. So we want you to solely come for us. So I was like, okay, I think and I believe that it's important for everybody. It's important for your mental health as well, ladies and gentlemen, to go sit down
Totally.
with friends and kind of talk about everything. And while I was on my way back as well, just yesterday, so a friend of mine accompanied me to Islamabad. I was just kind of feeling that I have healed quite a lot.
Oh,
And
that's
just by
nice.
sitting down with friends and talking about each and everything, which kind of in a way bugged me or disturbed me, and having said everything which I wanted to, I felt great. And I think that it is actually an advice, a suggestion for everybody who's out there to kind of make sure that, okay, because what happens is that, we belong to a generation where we're not really very open with our parents. I mean, we want
True.
to talk about a lot of things, but what if there are a few things by your parents which disturb you? Who are you going to go to, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
and Abu or Ammi, if you're watching, it's not that I have something against you, but I'm only saying so that if there are people out there who kind of feel this way about their parents, you can always go and sit down with your friends and talk, and then you can kind of reconcile, you can recover, recoup
Absolutely
as
true.
well. And this is something which I did, and I felt great. What
And
about
this
you?
actually does even sound great, just you sort of explaining what you did on the weekend. And you know, where you said that there are times when you cannot discuss things with your own family, and
Yeah.
that's totally all right.
I think
There
family
are
was a better word, right?
Yes, yes, Shazad. No, but you know, there are things you can discuss with your mom
Yeah.
and not with anyone else. But there are also things maybe you can discuss with your best friend, your girlfriend, best girlfriend, because in my case I have girlfriends, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, in that case, I cannot discuss those with my parents or
Yeah.
my siblings for that matter. So I feel like with every sort of catharsis that has to happen to you, there are different types of groups it happens
Yeah,
with. Do you
but
agree?
I mean, over here in a Pakistani family system, being the elder son, I don't think that you can actually say anything to your family. So all you have to do or sit down is with your friends. But there's one thing which you really need to be picky or choosy about, and that is that you are sharing your secrets. You're sharing your family
Of
secrets with
course.
your friends as well. Always remember that they have friends too as well. So whoever are your friends, make sure that you trust them fully and 100% before you actually share anything, so that it doesn't kind of come back to you. Because people have
Absolutely.
this habit of rubbing it on your face once again. Yaar, us din to tu ye keh raha tha, ab tu ye keh raha. So please make sure that you have those friends who are going to pay rich tribute to all of those things which you're going to tell them, share them, and lock them somewhere in their hearts and throw away the key, something like that.
Yes, definitely. And I think you did sort of raise a very important point
Thank
where it
you.
is established that the people or the mouths actually who talk about other people in front of you will definitely talk
Yeah,
about you once you leave the table. I mean, it's
exactly.
that simple. So first of all, try not to be that person yourself, and secondly, try not to surround yourself with
Yeah,
those
and
people.
one more thing,
Okay.
before we get started, because we really have quite a lot to share with you guys, ladies and gentlemen. So I was
Yes.
on YouTube and I was watching these different videos, some inspirational moments, of people's life and whatnot. So there was this gentleman I came across, and he absolutely made sense to me. And you know how over here in Pakistan we have this trend of making fun of how scared you are of your wife, or how
I hate
the
those
how the
jokes.
kind of relationship you guys share with each other. And people have this very common habit of joking about it.
True.
This guy made sense. He was like that, I know that everybody kind of complains, but he said that, that to understand women, you should always know that, that I respect my wife. He started from here. And he said that whatever I have given her, she's always multiplied it and given it back to us.
Like
So,
how?
so for example, you will give her a house, she will give you a home. You will give her groceries, she will give you a meal on the table. You bring out clothes, they'll be ironed, they'll be out there. You get ready every single day, you'll go. She'll give you babies, she'll give you your family. And then towards the end, he was like that if you're going to give her frustration, you're going to
It's
get
going
it
to
back.
come back. Oh,
Yeah, so please make sure that you do not disturb to another level. But that truly means quite a lot to me, because that's something which I've seen my mother doing, my wife doing, my daughters doing as well. You give them colors, they'll give you paintings.
they're so sweet.
Yeah, they'll always kind of come up with something better which you have, whatever you provided them.
Yes, and I feel like, first of all, thank you so much for sharing with
Thank you.
everyone out there, and I hope it sort of stays with the right kind of people who needed to hear
Yeah.
this. Secondly, yes, it is the innate nature of a woman, for that matter, to be that caring or to be that giving, right? So if you provide them with the right environment, they will definitely bloom.
Yeah.
And I think not only in terms of husband-wife, but this sort of stands in each and every single capacity of life,
Yeah.
where whatever you give out is going to come around back to you. So might as well think twice before actually,
Yeah.
putting out that energy into the world as well.
Exactly, and I'm just going to add very quickly over here, because this is something which I can recall most of the times, and that is that I've always been a spendthrift. So no,
Okay.
whatever I wanted to get, I'll alhamdulillah, shukr alhamdulillah, that I'll just go and I won't think about it twice, and I'll always get it. And if there has been a time in my life where I actually needed money, I would always go back to my wife and I'll be like, hey, what, do you have some cash? And she will always have it. And I mean, I don't know how they do it, but
Aw.
one way or the other,
I-
they are always more productive than men. This is something which I've seen.
Well, I wish I could sort of relate to it. Every time someone would ask me about my savings, I don't have savings.
I mean, it has to be either one of you, no?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true, to have that balance. But ladies and gentlemen, so today in the first segment, of course, other than the sort of, 2 cents we gave you for free,
Yeah.
Shazad and I love to talk, well, we are going to discuss something that has been a part of our lives for about 2 years now. It has impacted us, and not only us, I feel like the major chunk of the world. The future of the world especially. What are we talking about is something you'll get a hint of about in this report. Let's
Exactly.
take a look at it, and when we come back, we'll begin the discussion.
Please go ahead.
Returning to school has taken on a new meaning and a new set of worries for parents and other caregivers during the age of coronavirus. Educational institutions have to balance the study, social, and emotional needs of students, along with health and safety of students and staff. Overall, educational institutions largely choose from one of 3 options. Through distance learning, all instructions are given remotely by using technology and other tools. On the other hand, in-person schooling is similar to traditional schooling with enhanced health and safety precautions and procedures. Then comes hybrid schooling. This model includes elements of both distance and in-person schooling. Schools may adopt one or more approaches during the course of the school year and pandemic. Being prepared for a variety of schooling environments can empower children and reduce anxiety.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so you've definitely gotten a hint of what we are actually talking about. So we're talking about how COVID has actually had an impact on education, and in particular, obviously we've been talking about schools for toddlers as well, and your primary education, your secondary education, but today we are primarily going to focus on higher education. And before I give or share my 2 cents as well, we actually have wonderful guests over here in the studios. We will be in conversation with them, and we're going to ask what is the way forward, because we will literally have to eventually normalize everything amidst COVID, and it's because of the fact that COVID is going to stay here no matter what happens. Just yesterday, there were a couple of videos from restaurant owners where they were actually kind of requesting Prime Minister Imran Khan that, that the industry is going to die. I mean, and imagine that if anybody, God forbid, is going to lose their household from where they earn or they earn their livelihood, I don't think that it's going to be a good omen for any one of us as well, because in days to come, then God forbid, the same is going to happen to us as well. So we really need to come around. Whoever wants to come out, it's their choice. Your life is at risk. I think that we will eventually have to come towards this as well. And we will have to do a samjhauta. That's what they say. We'll have to compromise over here.
Yes.
But the first ever guest, ladies and gentlemen, for today's show, on my right-hand side is a great gentleman. He's a thorough gentleman.
One of our favorites.
One of our favorites as well. He's been a mentor in my university. He's always made sure that he's going to give whatever advice to all of those students who are going to ask for it. He'll always make sure that it's going to be honest 100% and that it's going to help people in their life in future as well. I mean, I actually fall short of words when I talk about him because he's a person full of dignity and integrity as well. He's a teacher, and everybody should respect their teachers as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, first things first, happens to be a lecturer at Namal University. Back then, he was at Air University as well. He's an analyst himself. He is Mr. Asif Rasool. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much. I mean, normally it's Monday blue, but it's really amazing to see both of you having like this, like very chirpy kind of feeling, very nice talk, giving kind of lot of energy to your viewers and to your guests as well. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you. Thank you very much for the amazing compliment as well. We feel the same way. We've healed over the weekend. And alongside Asif Rasool Saab, ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky that we've actually been joined by lecturer Namal, co-founder CSR Society, Namal Islamabad. She is Miss Sara Imran. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for this lovely program.
Thank you very much for joining us. And at this point of time, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have...
We really have to move out to, well, breaking news for that matter. The special advisor to the Prime Minister was speaking at a conference, but I think we'll get to that later on as well.
Yeah.
He was speaking about, of course, COVID-19 going on, Faisal Sultan Sahab and the entire situation in the country too. But let's get back to what we were going to talk about.
Exactly. So first things first, I think that we really need to establish where do you think that the education sector has had an impact from COVID-19, or do you think that for higher education in particular, it's best that if students actually learn at home because, you know, they know how to comprehend, they have their comprehension skills, they know how to write, they know how to read, they know how to understand, so all they need is notes. And this is how we have studied in universities. I mean, we weren't really interested in classes or lectures, to be very honest. I mean, if it was statistics or if there were other mathematical subjects involved, we would definitely, or accounting for that reason, if we would go. Or if it would have been Islamiyat, or if it would have been, you know, business studies or personality development, we're like, yeah, pass it and, you know, we'll notes de dena mujhe, something like that. What do you have to say?
Well, you know, this when we talk about COVID-19 situation, it really impacted education negatively in a massive, massive manner.
How so?
Okay. For example, you know, there are two aspects. Number one is that if, let's say, you're walking, something happens, and on the basis of your previous knowledge, you try to sort it out. But in this COVID situation, especially when we apply it in academia or education, suddenly when it erupted, nobody knew how to handle it. And then, like, universities started, initially, this higher education started coping with the situation, and teachers were not ready. In shortest possible time, they were not there to properly train the teachers. But people who were living in urban areas, like teachers especially, they were familiar, especially at university level, so they just very quickly coped with it. Then students, they were having the same problem. Now students who were from a socio-economically strong background, they were having all these gadgets, so they very quickly tuned into it. But we had a major population where even students, we had many students like those who were not having Android mobiles, they were not having stable internet connection. So, I mean, there was a kind of hit and try learning. Even we learned during the process, they were also learning during the processes. So, it really impacted in that sense. Second, testing and assessment system. Like now, this is third and fourth semester, students, they know it very well. That we don't have to do. We can't say that every student is having the same, but a few, billess soul, I would say. I mean, they are into it, they really take care of, they are inside the classes, they respond to you. But majority of the students, especially who are from the remote areas, I mean, they are unable to get. And I have seen many reports in the first wave in advanced countries. Let's say in UK, according to this one report, 70% students who were from remote areas, they were unable to get either 1 hour class or they had no class.
Because they didn't
so
have
even
Wi-Fi,
in those countries. So it really impacted massively, and when we see students' attitude, really it's very negative. It really.
Well, and you're just saying that it has impacted negatively, sort of challenges the notion of homeschooling altogether, because for so many years, the parents who did choose to homeschool their children, not because of pandemic, just generally of their personal choice, had positive connotations to it. But now it's all blurry. What do you think about it, Ms. Sara, please?
Yeah, I believe life is about making choices and facing its consequences. So now that we're in the situation, we should understand that it can bring positive points as well. So homeschooling is a very good option. And right now, it's not only homeschooling, it's that the universities, college, and instructors, they're with us.
Yes.
So why not to bring a positive plus positive? 1 plus 1 is synergy.
Right,
We can do it all together. And I believe that the students, they need to put their 100% or more than that into it now.
Absolutely. So here's the thing. I was just reading a small, in fact, Shahzad and I were discussing this before the show as well. So right after the pandemic, 2 to 3 months into it, there was a research which spoke about the psychological impacts of the pandemic. And it was basic. So the two variables were actually the children or the students who did stay at the campus in the host country of their studies, and the ones who came back to their family place. They were definitely performing healthier, and they were, well, they had a positive attitude towards the pandemic because of the support system. Now, this being one factor, what are some of the other factors you guys must have identified which may contribute to, well, the mental health for that
Because the
matter?
students which were stuck abroad, it really did take a toll on their mental health as
Yes.
well, and they couldn't come back home and they couldn't focus on their studies, and they were worried and they were stressed.
Obviously, when suddenly there is a disruption in your normal pattern of the life, it does affect us. And suddenly there were especially school children, even college students and university students. They were just, especially in first wave, I mean, people were really scared and all that. So they had to stay inside the home. They had to manage a lot many things. So this really affected their health very badly. But there is a positive aspect as well. When in the start of the program, Shahzad was just giving the introduction of this program, and I was simply thinking about those students. Like number one, we have got best private institutes.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they're school, at college, or even at university level. I mean, where students, teachers, they know all these gadgets. Students, they know it. For them, it's a wonderful learning experience and all.
that's true.
And then what to talk about, like, for example, just imagine children, 6 to 10, 15 children, they are sitting in one van and it's a blistering and scorching heat. So now they can sit in a very comfortable manner. But yes, there is one challenge which obviously academia is going to address, and all of us, we are learning, and that is, if we are going to come up with something innovative. For example, if we could accelerate learning, it is going to be a wonderful experience. And I can just relate here only one thing. Like last time I went for a training in WAPDA training, this college house. And
You went
I
to train people rather
train
than
people,
attend
exactly.
it, yeah.
And I just saw that that was around 4 to 5 hour session. And Shahzad, it was amazing. And I could see that. Now, and they told me another thing as well, the principal, that he said that previously it was very difficult for us to invite people from outside of the countries, those who have gone out. But now through this technology, we can invite wonderful people from all over the world. And we have got the best people. This is the second benefit. And third is, obviously, you get a lot of time, you can just develop. And moreover, if we could just bring creativity, if we can develop interest, so students are going to sharpen their skill very quickly.
Exactly.
This is but
Yeah.
still, it's a challenge.
Exactly. Obviously, it is a challenge, and we want to kind of build up on that as well, because it kind of creates a lot of opportunities as well. Imagine where we've been studying the cases from case studies from Ivy League universities, rather than directly being in conversation with them, is going to be very different. It is going to have a very different impact. But now, what I wanted to ask was, because you spoke about kids from remote areas as well, and to be very honest, we have studied with people from all over Pakistan as well, and there were people who couldn't really afford to pay for the fee of the hostels for the students to kind of stay in as well. So imagine, ma'am, I'm going to pose this question to you. So imagine that with online education, we're only benefiting people who actually live within the urban culture. And it's because of the fact that, we have all of those facilities here. But for all of those students who've traveled back, they cannot now study properly. They do not have internet connections. And there are these problems. I mean, I know about all of those students who will make an excuse, and then there are students who are actually not making an excuse, but it's a difficult phase which they're going through. So how are teachers accommodating all of those students? Because towards the end of the degree, it's going to be about credit hours as well. On ji, aapke kitne credit hours poore hue? And then not just that. Just to complete credit hours towards the end, then there are these crash classes where the teacher is going to take a lecture for 3 hours and 4 hours. And the psychologists or psychiatrists all over the world say that it's maximum 45 minutes you can pay any attention to any subject, So how are we going around that? I mean, to be very honest, how can anybody I mean, even for lecturers, it's difficult to be there in a class for 3 hours, yeah.
I love how bothered you sound.
Yeah, it's just about understanding the student psychology. That's very right, that 45 minutes, that's enough for both of us.
Yeah.
But the point is that we have given leverage to the students. They can come back to us. I understand that I've never been online on WhatsApp after 7 or you could say Asr time, but now I'm 24/7 reminding the students. We're having group interaction, we're having WhatsApp groups. So students have been given their space. They can come back to us. They can ask us anytime they want. Assignments, there used to be a deadline, but now we have extended that. Again, you could say that if we talk about particular universities in Islamabad, if you're saying that we have the infrastructure developed here, so on the other hand, we have also given the space to those students who cannot get them. They can come and stay at the university. They can have that leverage from us.
All
as
right.
well. Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
that's wonderful. So, imagine, so if I passed the deadline date as well, and if I wasn't over here and I couldn't come to university, so the teachers will still be accommodating me?
Yeah, to an
So
extent.
imagine that you will be accommodating me for something which I haven't studied at all. How am I going to pass it?
We get to know about it, who's studying and who's not.
Now we have just introduced like second chunk because experimentation was going on, and after second semester, our administration and many other universities administration realized that we have got to adopt another way. Now we have got Viva as well. So in Viva, we can
have to be
evaluate
in person.
student, and this really
No, is this
brings
Viva
huge
in
value.
person?
Yeah.
No, it's normally on
Both ways.
campus,
Okay.
and especially students who are from remote areas. Student is sitting before you, so you can at
talk.
least
And you get to know
ask them
whether
and
haan
get
ji
to
kitne pani mein hai. Something like that. Yeah, it's good.
Well, okay, that is one definitely mechanism that might work out. But now I do remember of another thing that I did read. So there's this notion again going on in the internet where a lot of people, or rather experts, believe that with this kind of setting of classrooms and education and work from home for that matter, we are preparing a generation that is not ready for formality and professionalism. You know what I mean? Because if we were to be in a practical classroom like we have been, Shahzad, we knew, Baizat Ba Naseeb and all those stuff, and we knew how to deal with our friends in person and just how to deal with the canteen wala and then Ayaji. So do you think it's an impact?
It's a very good question, and I could just recall one of CNN broadcaster who was doing program from her own home, and she was saying that now we have got to prepare ourselves formally. So she said that I've just separated there's a separate place where I go there that now I am into that specific mental setup. Second, I properly just take care of each and everything, and the way I was performing it there, I normally try it in the same manner as well. Now, this is a challenge. For example, when we see, the other day I was having a morning class and I saw now we see the students as well, because this is what through experimentation. So after every 10 minutes, I ask them to just turn on the cameras. And then we get to know that these people are very nice, they respond properly, we leave them. Then people who are there who play with us. So we are always there to ask them, hello Shida, how are you? Are you attending the class? Did you listen to me? So through this experimentation, we can just engage them. But we have got to know the teacher's role, especially parents' role. It's very important because, the way I have seen in the case of mothers, they are always there sitting with their own children at school level and they're just helping them out. But we have got to prepare our higher students as well for this very nice aspect, like becoming professional, punctual in every aspect. This is what we have got to incorporate.
What do you believe about this, Ms. Sara?
I understand. That's very right, that the way we used to interact, like we're talking right now, we can see each other, we can feel the situation going on. That's very much important. Indeed it is. But we need to accept that things have been changed, and the situation right now is something not for only us, it's about the parents, it's about the kid, him or herself. Students need to absorb this, that it is going to happen and it is happening and it might keep on happening. So we're very much flexible. I believe we're humans and there is a flexibility mode in us.
Definitely.
So rather than staying in the situation we used to be, that was very much important indeed. I would prefer that universities get open or schools and colleges. That's a very natural thing. But if not so, we need to bring that environment in our homes.
That's true.
If we talk about playing with the friends, so we have the surroundings near our homes, and we know that yes, these people, these 4 or 5 homes, we know them, who's coming, who's going out, so we can have a playtime over there. we can do that. And within our homes, I understand that we need parents need to keep a keen eye on their kids, what they're doing. That's a very tough thing for the parents who are working as well. Like
Exactly.
you're having your eye on your phone, your laptop, and working all the time, and then you need to keep an eye on your kid. Yes, that's a multi-purpose task.
Exactly, and I think that's the most important as
that's
well.
right.
And there's a reason because every time I see my toddlers going out of the room and I see that if they're God forbid unattended, so I'm like, yeah, God forbid kahin सीढ़ियों के पास ना चले जाएं. They might just poke their fingers into a socket or something as well. But I want to kind of add over here because now when we're talking about education and how interpersonal skills and all of these things are important because when we used to go to university, we would have projects where we had to give presentations.
Right.
Probably adding on to why I'm on television today as well, because Alhamdulillah, they sharpened that skill of mine, they polished it. They're like, hey, you know what, you need to speak like this, you need to dress like this. It's important. But now there's another aspect. I'm not negating the importance of how important it is to kind of go to a university and have face-to-face conversation with your teachers and lectures. But what I've seen is that kids as young as 16, 12, 13, 14 have started to earn by themselves these days. And it's because of technology. And they, at times, I mean, the examples I have around me, they earn more than their parents. Alhamdulillah. And at such a tender age. And so what parents have started to think is that, all this time, why we studied, why we got a degree was, ताकि हम अच्छी कमाई कर सकें, so that we could earn. Otherwise, our parents would say, beta, fail ho jaoge, chaprasi lag jaoge. And I'm sorry that I'm quoting these examples in Urdu because this is how we have heard it and people are going to relate to it.
That's true.
So imagine now all of those parents who wanted their kids to study are focusing or pushing their kids to earn more dollars and that to online business through via online stores, and they're negating the importance of education, which I think is going to be a bigger turmoil in days to come because they're not just kind of preparing their kids for how they need to be in this world, how they need to dress up, how they need to be in conversation with somebody else, how people are becoming more shy and introvert because of COVID, so how do we do that?
You hit on the nail very heavily. I appreciate this is really a very challenging one, and we have got to address this as well. Even face to face, we had students, those who had many problems and issues, but over there we just managed somehow. But in this era, especially this TikTok culture, the problem is look at all these famous TikTokers, male or female both. What sort of skill and knowledge they have? Just one video, girl is saying we are having this thing, and after that she got very popular, companies rushed toward her, and after that,
that's it.
Will she sustain? No. I mean, they are just, this is vociferous. They can't. So, you are right, Shehzad. Parents, they must realize that until and unless students are not going to develop certain specific skills, they're not going to be good at those areas, and which is going to sustain for a very long time. Otherwise, it's just like one-time venture. After that, just see the mental health of that kid, how that kid is going to survive. What if when he is not going to earn that money? I mean, this technology is changing.
Right, absolutely.
I would say, well, I'm quite conscious when I say that COVID is blessing in disguise. I'm only saying it's because it has accelerated technology. We can immensely benefit from it, and people are really going to improve themselves. Countries are going to take a lot of benefit. Academia is going to get benefit from it. But at the same time, we have got to be very careful, and we have got to prepare as well people, so that if they are going to go to the media side or this side where they start earning, we have got to properly educate them so that they should be able to sustain it.
Exactly. So that God forbid, if there's anything wrong, ladies and gentlemen, you can always fall back, and kind of practice what you studied as well.
True.
But very quickly, ma'am, now coming towards you as well, because we have had a lot of programs when the COVID never existed. And those programs were about teacher trainings as well. Now, speaking about all of these learning management systems, where in the first place, when the COVID breakout was there, the HEC actually came up with these LMS systems as well, which were introduced into universities, and the universities actually had to pay for it. And so then the universities actually decided that, hey, you know what, we should actually develop our own, because we make sure that, there are software engineers within our own universities as well. So let's
Might
do
as
it
well
ourselves.
try.
Now, talking about how we have advanced in education and how in different schooling systems, how from bigger parks and buildings to we are coming down to 4 or 5 bedroom house, and that's what we call a school, and it's a basic norm. And then, once the kid comes back home and he or she is like, hey dad, what's up? What are you doing? We think, oh, bade pade likhe aa rahe hain hamare bacche to angrezi bol rahe hain. Which in my case I think is no scale to kind of calculate whether your
Definitely.
kid is actually having good education or not. But for teachers, I think that they will have to transform and adopt to a lot of things. Most of the time, teachers are not this flexible. I mean, for people like Sir Asir Rasool, I know him, because when he was a lecturer in my university, he was probably as old as I am now. Probably something like that. Or probably he's just 5 or 6 years older than me. Or you, very adaptable people have been to modern universities. But we have seen professors in our universities who really didn't go to a university themselves. They did BSc or JOB, whatever was available at that point of time. How do you think that we will take everybody on the same page as well, that everybody needs to learn and these are the basics, and if you do not follow the basics, you cannot be a teacher anymore. It's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a very lovely point that you have raised, because right now the problem is coming. The ones you're talking about, they're not adapting the situation, so it's a condition for the students as well. And again, the students don't want to learn from them. They don't want to even take their online classes because
true.
they're not very interested in what he or she is saying. So you're very right. You're on the point that we all need to understand. We all need to adapt to the culture, to the situation, and to the technology.
Yeah, true.
Otherwise, everything's going to get shattered. And we don't want that. We want our nation to get, in a better position rather than drastically going back down. So you're right, training and understanding comes from both ways. It's not only from the student side. I believe from the academia, we all need to get on one platform. And for that, we need to understand these gadgets at first. Yeah.
And thank you very much for saying that. And I think that was the best ever closing remark as well.
Yes, thank you so much, both of you,
You're
for being
welcome.
here and also being so, informative early in the morning for us. We love to learn.
And then
right? Well,
adaptable.
every other day.
I mean, we have teachers over here in the studios who actually want to learn themselves as well, and then make sure that whatever they teach or whatever information they disseminate makes sense to everybody and in every era of their life or in every phase of their life.
I really wish a lot of people do have this mental attitude too. But towards the end of this segment, while we do head out to a short break, I have a small tip that I did learn and then verify from a lot of Montessori teachers as well. For all the parents out there who are probably finding it hard to make their children, study at home for that matter, or build that kind of environment. So you sit them down and you ask them what is their ideal classroom, the type of decoration that they always wanted to see in their classroom, or just what they wanted, the room that they sort of wanted to have even in school. Open Pinterest, set sort of a mood board, ask them what they like from this picture or this video, and then with them collectively make it a family activity. Sort of make those things that they want to see in the room, allot them a space. It does not necessarily have to be a room if you don't have enough space. It can be a corner for that matter, or just, anything for that matter.
Wow.
Set them according to how they like it, and they will absolutely love using that space for sure. And if you do try it out, do share your pictures with us. We'd love to see it.
Exactly. And one last thing which I'm going to say, and that is that for all of those people who've actually kind of negated the importance of laptop in their lives and they only rely on their cell phones, it's high time that you realize that what laptop can share with you, the cell phone cannot. So please make sure that
different.
you see a bigger picture because there are a lot more other captions and tabs on your windows which your phone does not share with you. So please make sure that you're out there looking at the bigger picture as well. With this, we're actually heading out towards a short break. Once you guys will come back, we need to talk about the weather a little bit.
Yes, definitely. Good
Good morning.
morning.
All right, beautiful people, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PT World, you are watching World This Morning alongside the very amazing Shazad Hashmi, and I happen to be Shazad Hasan Khan.
Well, Shazad, do you remember? Yes, welcome back, first of all. Do you remember this was last week? I think it was Friday or something that the weather warning was given out by the Met Department, and they did mention that a lot of rain were going to happen in different parts of the country,
Yeah,
and
true.
well, it may get severe in some places. Unfortunately, just this last night, a village near Mansehra had a cloudburst, ladies and gentlemen, while everyone was asleep, just like it happened in E11 a few months back. 15 people altogether were impacted in a way that 13 people, including children, passed away, lost their lives unfortunately, and the rest of the two are severely injured because the houses collapsed. It's a small village on a hilly area. There was landsliding along with the flash floods and just the houses breaking all over. So I think I want to take a moment to first of all pray for the departed souls.
and
May the
patience for
souls
the
rest in
bereaved as
peace,
well.
definitely, and patience for the bereaved, and thoughts and prayers for the family members who have to go through the loss of this.
Exactly. And, ladies and gentlemen, the weather's changing, so please make sure that you keep an eye out. I mean, for yourself, for your neighborhood as well. And, we have introduced this concept of neighborhood watch as well, so please make sure that you kind of look
Yes.
after each other as well. But with changing weather, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we kind of feel the change in how we feel as well.
Like health-wise?
I mean, health-wise, obviously, because, whenever it's a transition period for summer to autumn and then autumn to winters, what we've seen is that, I mean, this is something I've seen. I have a weaker immune system, so every time I'll get flu.
Okay.
And God forbid, if you do not kind of look after yourself, the flu kind of converts into pneumonia as well. And then at times there are other multiple issues. But rather than talking about the elderly, today we want to kind of talk about kids, because you know how we spoke about kids during COVID.
Yes.
How they're introverts, how they're being a little shy with
Shy.
other people as well. We're not going out a lot, so there's a little lesser sun exposure as well. So, I think that there are a lot of things which change according to your health by living indoors as well most of the time. So we're kind of building up on that as well. We're lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be Dr. Arshad Malik, and he's a child specialist. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for inviting me in your show.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And before we kind of ask you anything, we want to give a better understanding to all our viewers in 46 different
Let's do
countries. So
it.
we have this amazing package. Please go ahead, take a look. And once you guys will come back, we'll ask Dr. Saab, ye nazla aur pneumonia kyun ho raha hai? Something like that.
The impacts of a changing climate, from more extreme weather events to changes in seasonal patterns, have different consequences for our health. Children are more vulnerable to risks associated with weather due to several factors. They generally spend more time outside than adults. They have different physiology and metabolism than adults, and they are dependent upon caregivers. Despite these risks, there are proven mental and physical benefits of spending time outdoors. Parents can help minimize risks and maximize benefits by understanding and preparing for weather risks. A warming climate has led to earlier springs and longer growing seasons for many plants. These changes have increased the length and intensity of the pollen season in some countries, which can increase allergy and asthma. However, during early morning or evening hours, air pollution and pollen levels are likely to be lower.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're lucky that we've actually been joined by Mr. Arshad Malik, or in fact, Dr. Arshad Malik Saab as well. So, sir, please tell us what to do, what not to do, how to look after our kids and babies these days.
And what to expect from this weather?
Thank you very much. Actually, whenever the weather is changing in our sort of setups, like when it's transition from winter to summer or it's summer to winter, it's always been tough for the kids especially, and especially like in our sort of environment where we have got no much protection for our kids. So especially this time, its weather is going to get changed from like hot to cold weather. Like especially these 2-3 months are very much important for the kids, especially those who have got allergies in their families, and those who are more they are more prone to develop allergic rhinitis or allergic bronchitis sort of things. First, I would like to share a short of some of the data about infections in pediatrics.
Yes, please.
Like in our setups, we in Pakistan, 60% of mortality for kids is with infections, whether they are neonatal infections, whether they are respiratory infections and diarrhea. These basically three infections are more
Most common.
they are the one, like 21% mortality is from pneumonia, almost 15% mortality with neonatal infections, and almost 18-19% with diarrhea.
Wow.
So if we are gonna like right now we're just going to talk about pneumonias and respiratory infections because due to shortage of time. So I would like to suggest parents, number one, that neonatal mortality and especially infant mortality that has got reduced a lot after introduction of pneumococcal vaccine
Right.
and flu vaccine. So first of all, they should go in those, like including the COVID. Still, we have got our own regular infections like pneumonia and influenza and like flu. They are already there, so they are not going to disappear with sort of COVID. So they'll have to take care of these infections as they were taking care of it before. So they need to get their kids vaccinated according to WHO and EPI program regularly. So there is no excuse of like not getting vaccinated the children for pneumonia, for influenza, for flu, and other sort of vaccines which are being introduced by EPI. So I would request my parents of like all over Pakistan, especially in this region of Islamabad where we have got more flu and we have got more allergic rhinitis and allergic bronchitis. The kids should be vaccinated for routine and immunization program. There shouldn't be any excuse for that.
Well, it is very surprising, Dr. Saab, like you mentioned, that infectious diseases are actually one of the most common issues over here in Pakistan and in this region. For children mortality rate, it is definitely alarming. But would you say that all these infections, while they still exist, especially in the weather change season, that COVID might have added the risk to it?
Of course, COVID had risk, but if you see the data around the world, only like 12% of the total around the world. In America, it was a bit higher, but if you see the throughout cases of COVID, 10 to 12% of the infected population with COVID was kids under 14 years of age. So they have got naturally, because they are more prone to allergic rhinitis, they are more prone to coronavirus infections. So I think it's a myth, though we don't have got any sort of data yet. But still, we believe that the kids have got more, they perform better in sort of all rhinoviruses and all coronaviruses. So mortality rate is even lower. And still we have got the infection rate that is 10 to 12% of the total population infected in the world is like 14 years.
Thank you very much
Well,
for
that's good
sharing
news.
that as well. But I think that at this point of time, we really need to kind of ask that, are we talking about infants and toddlers within that 12 to 12% of the population? Or
Yeah,
is it
that
like
is under 14 years of age.
Under 14 years, anybody?
Anybody, exactly.
Anybody,
Under
all
14
right.
years, it's 10 to 12%.
Now, sir, first things first, on a very lighter note as well, how we actually go to doctors and then they give us a prescription and we take it to the chemist, and it's only the chemist who can understand it. So for the very first time, I've actually met a doctor who, when takes the name of the medicine, it's still like just the same as well, like the way we read it on prescription as well. So I believe it goes a compliment as well. But sir, now coming down, where we really need to kind of understand how to protect our kids. Now, because God forbid in our household, if the mother's COVID positive, I mean, there's no way that the kids kind of stay away. We were talking about toddlers and infants as well. So what do you think what do you suggest, what should we do?
What we have seen in our routine
And what
practice,
are the early symptoms of COVID within babies?
the symptoms are almost same with they'll develop flu, they'll develop cough, rhinorrhea, fever, sort of. But still, I'm saying the kids, when they develop COVID infection, the symptomatology is milder compared to adults. And secondly, the outcome of COVID, which usually develop in adults like bilateral pneumonias and respiratory distress, and that sort of complications are comparatively lesser in a pediatric age group. So from heaven, they are protected a bit more than the adults. And secondly, when the parents have got COVID, like God forbid, mother or father, any of the parents, they have got COVID. So that is mandatory, the kids should be separated. Though we should not rely much on the immunity, though they have got equal chances. They have got the chances of developing pneumonia. They have got chances of developing sepsis and other complications. So we must not consider this that they have got better immunity, so we should not be careful about. We must be very much careful about kids, and that's what government is focusing on schools, and sort of when like they are closing schools and they are like taking much more care about the kids.
Exactly, and that's what we were actually talking about in our previous segment as well. But I think that whatever we discussed was very fruitful, but in a way, obviously there's an impact on the education sector as well, especially talking about the primary and secondary education. But sir, now coming towards another point which I have always emphasized on, and I don't know why the mothers are unable to kind of understand it. Not every mother is onto it as well, but in a way, I think it kind of hurts my heart, because for a newly born to be out there and then putting them on formula milk. And I've seen it for myself as well, that whenever you go to a child specialist or a pediatrician, what happens is the mothers are usually complaining, Dr. Saab, iska dekhe na, wazan nahi badh raha. You know, I mean, you only have a
Exactly.
6-month-old baby in your arms, and you like, you know, you want it to be as big as whatever you. I mean, I don't know how mothers think.
Exactly.
So what the doctor would say is, अच्छा आप इसको कौन सा दूध पिला रही हैं? ये डब्बे का
Yeah.
ये वाला डब्बा छोड़े, आप
ये
ये वाला
वाला,
ले लें.
for sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm only saying it in Urdu so that most of the people can understand that we are actually making sure that it's not going to, or the kid is not going to have that kind of immune system which Allah has actually designed for us. So please tell or share it with all our mothers who are out there that please make sure just to make their babies gain weight, they shouldn't be changing or giving them formula milk.
Thank you very much for like, this is I think the key point which you have raised today, and I'm one of the great advocates of breastfeeding.
Yeah.
So in my prescription, even if there is a formula written over there, I used to write mother milk is the best milk in Urdu, and I used to advocate. I used to teach them a lot because there is no comparison of mother milk.
True.
And what I used to say to my patients, and especially the mothers, like when you see animals, their babies are fed with mother milk and they don't get infections.
Yeah.
Right.
That is the simplest example. Sorry, you can see them. Their babies are fed with mother milk, and you don't see they're getting sick and do not see getting infections. So mother milk there is no comparison of that. And secondly, about my pediatrician, my colleagues, we must have to focus on it. And at this time, especially when our kids are getting immune system, we have got so much of infections around. We have got so much issues with our coming generations kids. We must focus on breastfeeding, and government should there should be great camping about it, because we used to see our babies under nutrition, their immune system is not performing well with changing weathers. So that basically depends on breastfeeding.
But sir, the
Definitely.
only thing I know, Shizad, that you actually
Secondly,
have a
sorry,
question.
I just want to add one thing.
Yes.
Some of the
Everybody
parents
wants
they
to add
think
to
that the one of the biggest reason for like not giving breastfeeding is cesarean sections. They think that the mother has got cesareans, the baby got delivered by cesarean section. So when she will be able to come out of the bed, then she'll start feeding. So that's not a problem of the baby.
Yeah.
So there is nothing wrong with the milk. Mother can give breastfeeding even when she is even in operation theatre table. So it's not an issue.
But sir, what I wanted to pose over here is that it's usually the pediatricians, it's usually the doctors who write a formula milk. Yeah,
So
आप
the
इसको ये वाला दे.
the basic thing is like, commercialism is involved everywhere. And secondly, the
So are the
parents, they
companies paying the doctors for kind of recommending
I'm
mothers
sure
to
there
give them
must be
formula
some-
milk?
No, I'm not agreed with it, but actually the thing is, like the parents and especially mothers, they are not willing to feed
Yeah.
their babies.
Obviously,
Basic
that's
thing
the
is.
first phase of it.
Well, okay, since we're really short on time, I wanted to ask this earlier as well, but Dr. Saab, I want you to definitely use your wisdom to put it in a nutshell as well and make this a closing note. There are a lot of people, a lot of educated moms and dads who are anti-vaxxers in today's age as well, who would say, हमने कभी नहीं लगवाए थे टीके, हम इतने healthy हैं. So for newborn or toddlers or babies or children for that matter, how important is vaccination for all the infectious diseases that we were talking about?
I think with the developing age, the organisms are, you can say, the viruses and bacteria, they have got their transformation process as well.
Okay.
So like with, it's not human, it's not we are in developing phase. Our brains are getting sharper. We are inventing new and newer things. But the same thing is happening with the organisms. So
Right.
now we have got more stronger organisms. Now we have got more stronger bacteria and viruses and new sort of challenges with our health system. So we definitely need to get vaccinated.
And thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for emphasizing as well. But for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, since we're short on time, but we're never going to miss an opportunity, because for all of those people who've entertained us over the previous decades, it's very important for us as Pakistanis to kind of make sure that we remember them. And today, ladies and gentlemen, happens to be the death anniversary of somebody whom we have known as very popularly Saifullah Siddiqui Saab, or as Larry Saab as well. He was a versatile actor, ladies and gentlemen, popularly known as Larry, as I've just mentioned, and his death anniversary is being observed today.
Well, he was born on the 2nd of January, Shahzad, in 1929, and also known as the comedy king in the Pakistan film
अरे
industry.
साहब नालायक मैंने इसे कहा है और प्रोफेसर अपने आप को कहा है आपकी तारीफ
जी ये हमारी खाला है आप तशरीफ रखिए ना कुर्सी रखो यहाँ
शुक्रिया आप लोगों से मिल के बहुत खुशी हुई अबे मेरा मुंह क्या देखा है जा खाने का इंतजाम कर था मैं हुजूर इस उम्र में अबे मैं
So, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you remember your legends as well. Please make sure to write to us on our Facebook or social media pages. And this is it for today.
Well, good morning. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow, inshallah.
Good morning.